Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. You can now relax and be informed. Here is your daily bite of news. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are preparing for their first presidential debate today, Tuesday, at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time, hosted by Fox News anchor Chris Wallace in Cleveland, Ohio. It will be 90 minutes and run without commercials. 6 general subjects shall be raised by the moderator: the Trump and Biden records, the Supreme Court, COVID-19, the economy, race and violence in cities, and the integrity of the election. There will be a total of 3 presidential debates, along with a vice presidential debate as well. In the 10 months since a mysterious pneumonia began striking residents of China, COVID-19 has killed more than 1 million people worldwide as of Monday. President Trump on Monday announced that his administration will begin distributing 150 million rapid coronavirus tests, including 100 million to states and another 50 million tests to vulnerable communities. Another 100 million tests will be sent to states to be used as governors see fit, although Trump encouraged the governors to use the tests to help reopen schools. The first 6.5 million tests will be shipped to states this week. The tests, which cost $5 apiece and are produced by Abbott Laboratories, are less expensive than lab tests and show results in 15 minutes. The administration's efforts come as federal officials and health experts warn that a second wave of coronavirus infections is definitely coming. Many states, most of them in the Midwest, have seen their cases rise in just the recent weeks. A nonprofit organization estimates that 500,000 deep-sea sharks may need to die to supply the world with a coronavirus vaccine. A shark's liver contains oil primarily made up of a compound called squalene, which can also be found in plants and humans. Squalene is also used in some adjuvants, common ingredients in vaccines, that help create a stronger immune response. The compound has been used in U.S. flu vaccines since 2016 and has an excellent safety record according to the CDC. Squalene could also lower the amount of vaccine ingredients needed for each person, meaning more could be produced with less. Shark Allies, a group that fights to reduce overfishing of sharks, says shark species will be unable to recover from the large demand needed to produce a global vaccine. Instead, the group suggests using non-animal alternatives that offer equally effective squalene, such as yeast, bacteria, sugarcane, and olive oil. There's just one downfall to those suggestions: squalene from sources other than sharks is more expensive and takes longer to extract. About 3 million sharks are killed each year for their squalene, according to the nonprofit. Depending on the dosage, about 22,000 sharks could be killed to supply the U.S. with COVID-19 vaccines, although it's unlikely every American will receive one. Northern California's wine country was on fire again Monday as strong winds fanned flames in the area scorched region, destroying homes and prompting orders for nearly 70,000 people to be evacuated. The glass fire broke out before 4 a.m. on Sunday and merged with 2 other fires to scorch more than 56 square miles. As of Monday, there was no containment. Officials did not have an estimate of the number of houses destroyed or burned, but the blaze engulfed the Chateau Boswell winery in St. Helens and at least one 5-star resort. The causes of the new fires were under investigation, though dry lightning is expected to be the cause. Residents of 8 different cities in Texas have been warned not to use the water supply over concerns that a brain-eating amoeba had infected the water system. A 6-year-old boy died after being infected with the amoeba, which led to an investigation that prompted the warning. According to a new release issued by the Lake Jackson City officials on Saturday, residents are now being urged to boil their water before use. City workers are currently flushing the water system with chlorine, noting that residents may experience taste and odor changes in their drinking water. The CDC stresses that people can't get infected with the amoeba called Naegleria fowleri from swallowing water that is contaminated. In this situation, it's likely that public health officials recommended that people stop using water entirely out of an abundance of caution. Now, Gliria fowleri infections are so rare that the CDC has only recorded 34 cases between 2009 and 2018, and in those cases, 30 people were infected from recreational water, where in one case they were using a backyard slip-and-slide, according to the CDC. Police arrested Brad Pascali, President Trump's former campaign manager for his 2020 re-election campaign, on Sunday at his home in Fort Lauderdale after his wife called authorities and said she was afraid he was suicidal and had seen him load a gun. After several hours, at the request of police, Pascali, 44, came out of his home shirtless and was tackled to the ground by officers. Officers reported that they noticed bruises on Candace Pascali's arms, which she had received a few days ago during a physical altercation with Bradley, which she did not report. He was hospitalized under state rules governing involuntary mental illness commitment and taken to Broward Health Medical Center on Sunday. Police confiscated 10 firearms, including several handguns, 2 shotguns, and 2 rifles from Pascali's residence after his arrest. House Democrats unveiled a $2.2 trillion coronavirus relief bill that would provide aid to American families, businesses, schools, restaurants, and airline workers. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, spoke by phone Monday evening as the pair seek to end the impasse over another coronavirus relief package. The two agreed to speak again on Tuesday morning. The House could vote as early as this week to approve the legislation, but at roughly $1 trillion more than what Mr. Mnuchin has signaled the White House is willing to consider, the package is likely just a starting point, all but guaranteed to be rejected by the Republican majority in the Senate, should the House pass it in its current form. A juror in the Breonna Taylor case contends that the Kentucky Attorney General misrepresented the grand jury's deliberations and failed to offer the panel the option of indicting the 2 officers who fatally shot the young woman, according to the juror's lawyer. The unnamed juror filed a court motion on Monday, seeking the release of last week's transcripts and permission from a judge to speak publicly to set the record straight. Hours later, the Office of Attorney General Daniel Cameron granted both requests, saying that the juror is free to speak and that recordings of the session will be made public. Pope Francis has reportedly refused to meet with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo during his visit to Rome over a dispute between the Vatican and China. Mr. Pompeo plans to visit the Vatican this week to protest the imminent renewal of a 2-year-old deal between the Catholic Church and China, which the Secretary of State has claimed would endanger the Church's moral authority. The human rights situation in China has deteriorated severely under the autocratic rule of Xi Jinping, especially for religious believers, Mr. Pompeo wrote this month. He added that there have been credible reports of forced sterilizations and abortions of Muslims in Xinjiang, as well as abuse of Catholic priests and lay people. Pope Francis has been notably silent on China's violations of human rights. This deal, which the details have not been disclosed to the public, has allowed the Vatican to have a say in the Catholic bishops appointed in China. The extension of the deal between the Vatican and China is expected to be signed next month. The Trump administration on Tuesday is launching a safety pledge with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in an effort to prevent attacks from online predators and sex traffickers. Attorney General Bill Barr, Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, and White House Senior Advisor Ivanka Trump, along with the NCMEC nonprofit, will launch the Safety Pledge campaign, an initiative to combat online child exploitation. The initiative aims to provide free resources about the risks that children face online and bring awareness to the dangers of child trafficking. The Safety Pledge will have a website to help parents, teachers, and caregivers guide children on how to navigate the online world. The administration's renewed focus comes after NCMEC witnessed a dramatic increase in reports of online child exploitation, which increased as much as 126% since COVID-19. Last week, the Justice Department awarded $101 million invested in grants to combat human trafficking. The funding is set to provide resources to support victim service providers, strengthen human trafficking task forces, and provide victim housing assistance across the nation. The New York Times tax return story reveals that Trump wrote off $26 million in unexplained consulting fees between 2010 and 2018, with almost $750,000 apparently going to his daughter Ivanka in one disclosure. Mr. Trump reduced his taxable income by treating a family member as a consultant and then deducting the fee as a cost of doing business. In at least 2 deals, hotels in Hawaii and Vancouver, Ivanka Trump appears to have double-dipped, serving as both a project manager in her official capacity as a senior staffer for her father's company and as a consultant to those same projects. In those deals, Ivanka Trump's apparent categorization as a consultant allowed her father to write off $750,000. When asked for comment, Ivanka Trump's office directed questions to the Trump campaign. In the months before he was killed by Saudi agents in 2018, the Saudi dissident writer Jamal Khashoggi was pursuing a dream to found an organization in Washington to promote democracy in the Arab world. On Tuesday, 2 years after his death, Mr. Khashoggi's friends and colleagues will launch that organization, Democracy for the Arab World Now, or DAWN. DAWN is a Washington-based human rights watchdog that plans to focus on violations by the United States' closest Arab allies and publish articles by political exiles from across the Middle East. Despite the Saudi kingdom's efforts to move on from his murder, Mr. Khashoggi's story continues to resonate. Turkey is sending Syrian rebel fighters to support Azerbaijan in its escalating conflict with neighboring Armenia, 2 Syrian rebels have said, as Ankara pledges to step up backing for its majority Muslim ally. The clashes over the territory are the heaviest since 2016, with reports of dozens of deaths and hundreds wounded. As of Monday, 15 more of its fighters have been killed in a flare-up of a territorial dispute, bringing the total death toll to 39 as fighting entered a second day. Armenia also said Turkish military experts were fighting alongside Azerbaijan in Nagorno-Karabakh, a mountainous breakaway region run by ethnic Armenians, and that Turkey had provided drones and warplanes. Turkey has already used Syrian fighters to help block an assault on the Libyan capital Tripoli earlier this year by General Khalifa Haftar's backed by Russia. Their use in Syria could create a third theater for Turkey's regional rivalry with Moscow, which has a military base in Armenia. Well, that's enough news for today. If you would like to learn more about these topics, please see our sources in the description below. Subscribe to receive a daily news update. Thank you for listening. Be relaxed, be informed, be connected.